Welcome back to my channel Java Tech. Today we will learn about one of the SSO type OpenID Connect or known as OIDC. So first let's see what is OIDC. In technical terms, OIDC or OpenID Connect is decentralized authentication protocol that allows users to authenticate with multiple services using a single set of credentials. This is an easier way for users to log in into a various websites, application without creating or managing a separate username. So let's see through an example what that basically means. So imagine you are visiting a mall with multiple stores. Instead of showing a separate ID for each store, you are using a simple trusted ID. The store trusts this ID because it verified by a central authority, which is in this case is the government. So let's see using this analogy how this connects with the OIDC protocol. So your trusted ID is your account from the identity provider. So for example, identity provider can be Google, Microsoft, etc. Second, the mall stores. So the mall stores is like a website or application you want to access, and the whole process of creating a separate ID to access all the storage is a OIDC protocol. Now let's see data flow of OIDC. Imagine a user wants to access the website. This website can either be a Spotify or in our case, let's say www.example.com. User will hit this website and try to access the content of it, but the website will not allow it and try to ask for the authentication. So your user need to authenticate himself, and one of the options to authenticate is to authenticate through a Google. In this case, a Google is our IDP provider. So user will be redirected to IDP provider URL with the request parameters. These parameters depends on the endpoint being accessed. It can be authorization endpoint or a token endpoint, which are central to OIDC flows. If it is a authorization endpoint, then the below parameters are the ones which needs to be a part of this request. First is the response type, specifies the type of response. Client ID identifies the website making the request. Third is the redirect URL where the IDP should redirect. And the final, the scope, specify the permission being requested. Once the request reaches the IDP, before presenting the users with the login screen, it will authenticate the request. If the user is an active session, then it will skip the login window and send the response. Else, user first needs to authenticate the credential and log in. Once the user is logged in, IDP will provide the response to the website. In this response, there are two major tokens which will be part of this response. First is the token ID and second is the access token. Token ID is a kind of your ID card which provides details of username, user email address, etc. This response is generally JWT token, and the second is the access token which is letting the website know which resources a user can access. So by that it will allow the user to access a certain amount of resources. For example, in a mall, like when you are entering the store, it will only allow you to access the store items and not the warehouse of the store. Now let's see a use case. Imagine we are enterprise level entities and we have hosted two websites, W1 and W2 on private cloud. These websites enabled with OIDC protocol. So let's say first our user tries to access the W1. So W1 will redirect it to IDP provider. As the user is logging for the first time, it needs to enter the credentials and authenticate itself. And after the authentication, it will send back to the W1 website with the access. Now the same user tried to access the W2 website. Again, W2 first redirect to IDP provider. But as the session for the user is present, the user doesn't need to log in again. IDP will send the response back to W2 and will grant the access to the W2 directly. So this is how the IDC protocol works. Thanks for watching and please share, subscribe and press the bell icon.